Hello and welcome to Turtle Tracks Podcast. This is your host, Brian Van Hooker, and I am here with the guys from Palladium Books. That's Kevin Sambita, Sean Robertson, and Jeremy Colantonio. All of whom, give me guys your titles at Palladium Books, and then we'll get into a little bit what we're talking about here today. Kevin?
Yeah, so I'm Kevin Sambita. I'm the founder of Palladium Books, and I'm the maniac who recognized the potential of Turtles so early and decided to do a role-playing game based on it.
Sean?
Yeah, so my name is Sean Owen Robertson. I'm Kevin's business partner and the creative director at Palladium for the last almost 5 years now. I'm kind of one of the reasons that I really wanted to do this game and bring it back. So Kevin was of course very eager for it, but so it's been a big passion project of mine and my primary duty for a while now.
And Jeremy, what's your position there?
I'm operations manager. I pretty much take care of handling day-to-day logistics and a lot of the back end moving of shuffling of things around, making sure that shipping's going right and that all those little pieces are moving. And then I also made the character sheet for the current Redux version.
Cool. So so to be clear, there's a new there's a book coming. There's two books coming out. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing games. They're from Palladium Books. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Other Strangeness, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Transdimensional Adventures. To be clear, these were one of them's. No, they're both a re-release, or no? Transdimensional.
Yes, right? They're both re-releases. What it is when they did the originals in 1985, Kevin and Eric Wujic, there were originally the core role-playing game and then 5 source books. So these 2 new books take those original 6 books and collect them into 2 hardcovers. And so Transdimensional Adventures includes Transdimensional TMNT, TMNT Guide to the Universe, and the TMNT Adventures supplement. So, just kind of like shifting the name with that. But that's what the books entail. And it's all been edited, updated, for a new generation, along with all the original art, which is fantastic and beautiful by a bunch of the original Turtles artists, has been updated into full color.
Yeah, so there was a Kickstarter of this last year, but if you missed out on that for whatever reason, you can still pre-order the books. They're really beautifully redone. Before we get to the book, though, it's the new version. I really wanted to go back and talk about where this all started. So before even Playmates Toys got into the picture, before anybody else, the very first licensed product, which means another company doing something with the Turtles, to come out was Palladium Books, who did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness role-playing game. And that all started with Kevin. Kevin, talk to me about where you were at in 1984 or 5. When did it start?
Yeah, so I'm a comic book guy from way back, and I had heard about this new black and white comic that was coming called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I liked the art. It looked pretty cool, and I couldn't buy the damn thing. I couldn't find it anywhere, and finally I was able to snag a copy of issue number 2, and I read it. And I said to my wife, man, this would make a great role-playing game, especially if these guys, the creators, would let me create any type of mutant animal. And like 5 minutes later, the phone rings, and it's some person I've never heard of before who says, hey, I think this would make, have you seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? And I'm like, yeah, I just finished reading issue number 2. He's like, I think it would make a great source book for the Heroes Unlimited, which is our superhero role-playing game that had come out in 84. So this is I want to say it was November or December of 85 that this is all happening.
Or 84?
Or 84, yeah. And Heroes Unlimited had just come out in that summer. And I'm like, no, I think it'd make a great standalone game. It's too good to be just a source book. And we chit-chatted about it, and I sat back and said, okay, I'm glad. Thanks for calling, because, it just reaffirms my idea that this should be a role-playing game. I said, all I have to do now is track down the Mirage Studio guys and he's like, I already have their number. And he gives me their number. I call them up. I got Peter Laird on the phone and we chit chatted and we hit it off. I mean, we were both around the same age and, we're both, new publishers. Palladium started in 81 and we just hit it off to the point where they're like, hey, you've been around longer than us. Why don't you drop the contract? And I'm like, okay. And I did, and the rest is kind of history. And I asked them to do the art for it because I really wanted people to make that connection. And the art was magnificent. So they actually did an original 10-page or 12-page comic strip in the first book, and then in the first two source books. And it was just wonderful working with those guys. I was actually paying them as freelance artists, which was amazing. And we just became fast friends. And it just, their comic took off, our role-playing game took off, and we were just off to the races.
Now, who called you? Was that Mark Friedman, or was that before that?
No, this was just some fan who
Oh, wow, very cool.
was pitching an idea, and he wanted to try to write the game. And in fact, I gave him first crack at writing it, but we just didn't see eye to eye on what it had to be. Meanwhile, I had been discussing it with Eric Woodjick, who really got it. Eric and I were like best buds, and we always seemed like we're always on the same wavelength. And I had been advertising the game in Dragon Magazine as coming, and I get the manuscript, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this doesn't do it for me. It's not what this game needs to be. And, in my estimation, of course. And, fortunately, Eric had been developing stuff all along because, just for fun, because that's kind of the way Eric was. So I called up Eric and said, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I've been advertising this game and I don't have a game. And Eric's like, yeah, let me write the creation rules. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I knew he was in the middle of another project. And he's like, yeah, just do that. And so he does that. And he's like, Kev, let me write the animal psionics. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, Kev, let me write the animal powers. And you know what? It needs a couple adventures. And next thing you know, he had written like 90% of the book. And it was just a masterpiece. And the art came in and we put it all together and got it out there, and it just blew out the door. We printed 10,000 copies initially, which people thought that I was crazy to do that because typical role-playing game back then was like 2,000 to 5,000 copies would be your initial press run, and we sold out in 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I printed like another 10,000 and that sold out in like 2 months. So then I printed 20,000 and that sold out in like 4 months. And I'm like, okay, we got something here. So, yeah, it was pretty wild, pretty exciting.
What was the main thing that drew you to? Was it the idea of mutant animals? Was that the thing that was like, that's the game?
I think that, really there's a lot of really great elements in TMNT. And part of it was the art. I mean, those guys are so good right out the gate.
Yeah.
The storytelling is beautiful. The art is dynamic. It reminded me at the time, Frank Miller's Daredevil was out, and it really kind of reminded me of that Frank Miller kind of vibe. I love that, they were a family of turtles. And, these brothers and their surrogate father. And it was just, I don't know. I just really thought it was great. And then, yeah, I sat back and went, man, who doesn't like animals? How cool would it be for people to be able to create their own superhero based on their favorite animal or animals? So if you love dogs, you can do mutant dogs or mutant cats or mutant hamsters or mutant iguanas or mountain lions or bears and sparrows or hawks and, the whole 9 yards. I just loved that idea. And apparently so did the fan base because, it was a smash hit.
That's cool because like, to be clear to the fans, like that's like, they're, having lots of mutants in the stories is commonplace now. right? There's a new movie, Mutant Mayhem. There's a bunch of mutants in that. There's tons of mutants in the cartoons. But like, this is sort of the start of that, of mutants beyond the four turtles. Because they weren't even in the Mirage books, really. There were no,
Oh,
I mean, except for Leatherhead, but he came way later. Like, this is the start of mutants beyond the turtles.
it is.
Yeah.
And it's just, when you're building a role-playing game, you're building a world. And so I wanted to build this world of mutant animals that had sort of like a plausible basis. And, it made sense. And in fact, we created our own kind of mad doctor. Eric Woodgie came up with Dr. Farrell. And he was making all kinds of these crazy animals. And it was just fun. And who doesn't like martial arts? That was the other thing. It's like, it was just this great combination of ideas that just really came together, and even a title, because I'm the one who actually turned Mark Friedman onto the Turtles. I
Oh,
was
no
going,
shit. Wait, really?
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So I was going after another license, and which Mark Friedman was representing, and so I reach out to Mark, and I'm talking, and yeah, I sent him a bunch of our books that we had done, and he's like, yeah, these are great, but I want to see what you've done with other licenses. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I haven't done a whole lot with other licenses. And the only two I had, because like I said, my background is comic books, big comic book collector. So I sent him Justice Machine, which was by another independent comic by a friend of mine, Mike Gustovich. And then I sent him Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And he calls me up and he's like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Does that make you smile? Every time I say the name, it makes me smile. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. And every time we would talk, it'd be like, yeah, we'll get to the license you're going after. We'll work it out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And he starts pitching all these ideas to me about, he asked me, what the comic books are selling, how what's the print run, what the volume they're selling. And because at this point I'm friends with Kevin Pete, so I know this information. They're sharing this stuff with us, with me and the guys at Palladium, and so I could give Mark those numbers. And then he's like, "Do you think this would appeal to little kids?" And I'm like, "Well, my 9 and 7-year-old love it, and they're reading the hardcore black and white comics." I said, "Yeah, I think they would love it." And he's like, "Yeah, I got this buddy. I'm friends with the president of this startup toy company called Playmate Toys, and I think I could get him interested in doing a toy line based on the comics. But we'd have to get an animated series made first, because that's how you promote toys these days, or back in that day, anyways." And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, Mark, it sounds fabulous. But, you're a licensing guy. You do understand that I don't own the Ninja Turtles, right? Because I'm starting to feel a little awkward, because he's pitching all these ideas. He's got all these great plans. And I'm going, yeah, that'd be fantastic. But they're not mine. And so I finally said, Mark, you should reach out to Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. And he's like, well, but this is before computers. And he's like, well, Kev, can you make the introduction? Could you call him up and tell him what I have in mind? And I'm like, sure, absolutely, I'd be happy to. So I called the studio. When you called Mirage Studio, we're never sure exactly which of the guys you're going to get. And I was actually talking a lot to Kevin Eastman at that time, but it's Pete who picks up the phone. And Peter is the older of the two. And I pitch. Well, I don't pitch. I explain what this guy, Mark Friedman, has in mind, and that, maybe they should give him a call, and here's his number. And Peter says, thanks, Kev, but it sounds too good to be true. I think we'll pass. And I'm like, gee, Peter, hold on a second. I said, look, you guys are holding all the cards. Listen to what this guy has to say. If you don't like it or you think he's full of baloney, tell him to take a hike. But it can't hurt to listen. You're under no obligation to do anything with this guy. And so Peter was like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we will give him a call. I'll have to talk to Kevin. They called Mark. They met with Mark. The rest is frickin' history.
To those who don't know, Mark Friedman, I mean, outside of Eastman and Laird themselves, like, Mark Friedman is the reason why the Turtles became a global phenomenon. Like, he is like the reason you got turtle lunch boxes and shoelaces and all that other nonsense is because this guy marketed it to everybody in the world, got comic book, not, I'm sorry, got the cartoon and the movie, like all that stuff came from that, and obviously now through Kevin. Like I did not know that you were related to Mark Friedman. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, well, part of it was, I'm not a glory hound, so I didn't run around telling the whole world, I'm the guy who put Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird together.
No, but that's like all these little puzzle pieces that fit the history of the thing. I love that. That's wonderful.
Oh, no, it's great. Well, and I'll tell you, it's wild to have been a part of that, because you can sit back some days and go, gee, would turtles have been the turtles we know today if I didn't reach out to Kevin Pete and ask for the license and do a bunch of extra mutant animals? And then would it even exist at all as we know it if I didn't send that book to Mark Friedman and he didn't see something there? And that's the beauty, in the role-playing game. I have a little introduction and we talk about the history in it. And I say that they hit lightning in a bottle. And they really did capture lightning in a bottle, because there was just something there that creative people like myself and Mark Friedman and Eric Wojcik, the minute we saw the Turtle comic book or heard the name, or in Mark's case, he saw the game and went, what is this? And heard that title. There was just something magical that they really hit on. And, the right people saw it and the right people did something about it. And it's crazy to me to have been part of that turtle history. And by the way, the success of Ninja Turtles could not have happened to two nicer guys. Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, they're just wonderful human beings.
I love that early, like, kind of happenstance history. I also interviewed a guy named Ralph DiBernardo. I don't know if you know who that is. He runs a thing called Jetpack Comics, but back then he was the first guy to basically help sell the Turtles, because they got a bunch of no's, but he allowed them into this little con that sold the books, and he was really the first one to go like, oh, I could sell this and make this into something. So like that, to me, that early history where people see something in these characters that nobody beyond Eastman and Laird is seeing at that point is so interesting to me. So.
And there's something interesting to add too. Both of these books we have in extensive behind the scenes sections, as well as write-ups by a lot of people that are involved in it. And one of the things that Kevin and I ran into is this game highly influenced a lot of Ninja Turtles creators, including Ciro Nieli, who did the 2012 animated series, and Sophie Campbell, who did a whole 150 plus issue run of the IDW comics. And what we found out was that Sophie plays Palladium games to this day every week. Ciro couldn't find friends to play the game with and created over 80 mutant animals. He has homages to a lot of the original Turtles characters, like there was the Terror Bears were in the original game, and he wasn't able to use them when he did the animated series, so he created the Dream Beavers.
Yeah.
But but he insists on doing two pieces of tribute art. We have pin-up tribute art at the end of each book as well, and he insisted on doing two pieces, and one of them includes the Neutralizer, which is a mutant newt with Doc Farrell next to him. That was in his mind, the story. He was created by Doc Farrell. And then the other one, it has Casey Jones and the Terror Bears and the Dream Beavers sitting together watching a horror flicks. So it's just kind of interesting to see how the game also influenced a lot of people who are now huge creatives and part of the Ninja Turtles in on the big screen, in the comics, everywhere you can look.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I've interviewed both those people, and during both those interviews separately, of course, they mentioned the Palladium books. Sophie mentioned how much she loves those characters, and she went into it in a way that I didn't like. I'll be honest with you, I have other Strangeness, but I'm not a big gamer guy, so I didn't
Sure.
understand the game. But like, I got it because I love the artwork in it. And she was talking about that, and when I talked to Zero, I mean, the reason why Neutralizer is interesting is because that's a character he drew as a child, and then brought that into his animated series 30 years later, which is amazing, or 20 some odd years later. So like, I love that stuff, and it's a major influence. And I know that you got so many of those artists to be a part of the book, which I think is amazing.
Oh, a ton. And I didn't even mention like Freddie Williams.
Yeah,
Kevin
he does the cover,
gave,
which is beautiful.
right. And Kevin Samita gave him his first job in the industry. So
Really? I didn't know that.
yes. And he loved the TMNT.
Freddie's the guy
Strangeness
doing the
RPG.
new ongoing now. And Freddie's such a talented artist. Good God.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic. And that it was a coup to get him to work on the covers for us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that. Well, it influenced me. So it was the first role-playing game I ever owned. And so it was just got me all hyped up once I, went down my own path and got into writing tabletop role-playing games. And Kevin asked me a business partner. It all kind of came full circle. So it's been really neat.
Now, one of the make your own mutant kind of device, like, is there a list to choose from in here, or is it like, I can pick any animal?
You can either one. You can choose.
Like if I pick the kangaroo rat, can we figure out how that's?
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's I think there's around 100 mutant animals in the game now. We added a whole bunch when we did this crowdfunder. So if there's something a mutant animal that isn't in the book, there's a chance, but most of them are, as long as you're not going for snakes. We don't have snakes in there. But yeah, if not, there's going to be something really close.
Is there a reason why there's no snakes?
We just don't have snakes. They weren't in the original game, and we did a fan vote when we rebooted this, and put snakes on the list, and people voted for a bunch of other stuff. Snakes didn't make the cut apparently.
Interesting.
But it was just funny. But yeah, so what you can do though is we have some tables you can roll, and so you can roll like, oh, did my mutant animal come from like a neighborhood or a rural area or a zoo or a forest or something like that? And then you can roll to see which animal it is. You can roll to see how they got mutated. Was it an industrial accident? Was it, the government, some government military program? There's all different types of origins for your characters, which influence what kind of skills you can get, what kind of different martial arts or other combat abilities you can get. So it's a lot of fun to just roll on those tables and make characters that way. But you can also just choose and say, hey, I always really wanted to play, a kangaroo or whatever it is, a cocker spaniel, and then just go and do that too.
Break it down for me. So what was the very first book was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Another Strangeness, correct? Or am I wrong?
Correct. No, you're correct.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And that came out in 85.
Yes.
And there is 6 books total. What are the other 5? I don't need the years. I'm just curious what they are.
They are so the very next source book was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures.
Okay.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. It was an adventure book. And then the next book for them was the TMNT's Guide to the Universe. And that included the Triceratons and time travel and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then we came out with Trucking Turtles, which was another adventure book.
Trucking
Turtles.
Yeah,
Okay.
Trucking Turtles. It's kind of like a Big Trouble in Little China kind of.
I didn't know what this. I never even
Adventure
heard of that
story.
one. Jeez. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I never. Okay. All right. Keep going. I'm sorry. I just.
And then there was TMNT Go Hollywood. And that was awesome. I mean, a bunch of these, when Kevin and Pete got too busy to do the covers and the art, we had Kevin Long do a couple of masterpiece, like a trio. Oh, I forgot about one of my favorite source books of all time, which has got a magnificent cover by Kevin Long and art by Eric Lawson. That's just mind blowing, and that's called TMNT Transdimensional
Transdimensional TMNT.
Thank you. Thank
And
you,
Jim
Sean.
Lawson.
And yeah, Jim Lawson did just this amazing artwork for the book, and it's just fantastic. And it's got time travel rules, and you can create mutant dinosaurs and mutant woolly mammoths, and
Oh wow.
Saber-tooth tigers, and
amazing.
you can also slide to other dimensions too. So it's kind of got time travel and dimensional travel in it. Well, it does. It has both. They're actually really well rounded out with lots of encounter tables and generation tables. So if you're I mean, this is in the new books now too. So if you're a game master looking to, or you've never even played a role playing game before, this is a fantastic introductory RPG. The core book, the new TMNT and Other Strangers book, has the core role playing game plus Turtles Go Hollywood and Truck and Turtles. So that's just a whole bunch of adventure material that you could game for probably a year or two with. And then there's the TMNT Transdimensional Adventures. And so that book gets you space, time travel, dimensional travel, and just some also, but still the TMNT Adventures, some really classic, really fun adventures written by Eric Wujic. So
now, what was after the bomb? Is that something related to this?
So yeah, kinda. It's so we decided, because we were into creator rights and stuff, and I wanted to do stuff, and Eric wanted to do stuff that was outside the realm of Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
So he created After the Bomb, which is a post-apocalyptic setting. Just kind of think Planet of the Apes, except instead of just gorillas and apes, you've got all kinds of different ninja, or all kinds of different mutant animals. And so it's this cool post-apocalyptic world filled with mutant animals. There's the Empire of Humanity, which is sort of a tech-based group that see the mutant animals as a threat to humanity, because most of human life has been wiped out. And it was fun, and it was related to the Ninja Turtle books in the sense that every source book had more mutant animals that were totally adaptable to the RPG, and still are, as a matter of fact.
But it wasn't officially it wasn't a Turtles thing. It was a separate, its own thing.
Yeah, it's its own.
Okay, I knew that it had influenced Zero, especially in the finale of his show.
Oh yeah,
yes,
that's like all about this.
Yeah,
well, it's funny because
I think even he maybe explained to me that it was not a turtle book, but you could it was compatible or something. I couldn't remember.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like, as Kevin said, Mad Max, Planet of the Apes, but with all kinds of mutant animals, and then this like kind of last holdout of high-tech humans. But it's at the same time, all our games, all the Palladium games use the same game system. And so it uses a very compatible system for generating the mutant animals with a little more like gritty detail and stuff for some items. But in general, like as Kevin said, it's a whole new world, all new stories. Doesn't feature the Ninja Turtles, but a lot of fans get confused because a lot of the art was done by the exact same artist, by Kevin, Peter, by Jim Lawson, right? So, and so that's one of the things that where it gets, Kevin Simbita was hiring them as freelance artists at the same time that they're doing the early Turtles stuff right before it all exploded. So they had time to work on this other IP, but it's not their IP. It's just interesting.
Oh, interesting. I see. I never quite understood the relationship there. So thank you for clarifying that. Here's a question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, Peter Laird did the wraparound cover to the After the Bomb source book.
Oh.
And then I think Kev and Pete did the art for Roadhogs. And then Kevin Eastman did the cover art, again, another wraparound for Mutants Down Under, which is, mutant animals in Australia. And then, like I said, when they got too busy, they're like, gee, how about, using Jim Lawson or some of these other guys? So, we would have them, or we'd bring in other artists to do things. But it was pretty wild.
And Roadhogs, for instance, features, kind of 80s gang looking mutant boars and pigs. And so there's a lot of people that and with art by Kevin Pete. And so a lot of people say, oh, is that the origination of, say, Rocksteady and or Bebop, right? Or that look, or that kind of just that idea? It's hard to say.
Oh, yeah, I know that those characters started earlier than that, and then kind of got adapted into the toys. But I wasn't sure where, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's a
yeah.
lot. It's people see kind of like mirrors and reflections of different things
Oh,
in
sure.
a lot of the early products. So
Kevin, tell me what Kevin and Pete were like back then.
Oh, they were just awesome. They're just a couple of fanboys, They wanted to do comic books, and they really loved comics. They were very, I think, in a lot of ways, similar to what you see today, where what you see is what you get. They're friendly, they're outgoing, they're grounded, fun-loving, good people, and but they also have these strong ideas for, the creative work, and they were just a joy to talk to, a joy to work with. They always took notes, not that I needed to give them any notes, because I'd tell them more or less what I wanted them to draw. We'd get a pencil sketch and be like, how's this? And we're like, whoa, yeah, that's great. And in fact, on the RPG, the original RPG cover, yeah, I was planning on having someone else do the cover. And Kevin Eastman calls me up and says, hey, would you mind if I took a run at doing the cover? I'd really like to try my hand at doing the cover. And if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. And I'm like, no, that'd be great. If, send, and, also bear in mind, this is back in a day where, I was getting the original art sent to me. So I open up this package and I pull out this cool painting of the Ninja Turtles with Shredder and, Splinter and sort of New York in the background, and it's
I'm looking
like,
at it you say that. Yeah.
it's awesome, and I'm like, yeah, Kev, this is great. And he's like, well, can you afford to pay? And I tell him, he's like, fantastic. So I send him the money. In fact, I actually bought the original art and owned it for like 35 years until I sold it to Joe Manganiello.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, it was just this great piece of art. I didn't know or if I knew, I forgot. Like decades later, I find out that it was Kevin Eastman's very first painting.
Really? No shit.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, we're coming up like simultaneously. Both of
Wow.
our companies are growing. We're all taking off. And I think that was exciting too, because we would share, stories with each other, and we talk about, printers, and, they're the ones who turned to me and a bunch of my artists, Kevin Long and others, onto Duo Shade. Because I'm like, Kev, how are you doing this? I know it's not. I said, is that some kind of zipatone pattern? He's like, no, there's this stuff called Duo Shade. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's a chemical board. And so I tracked it down and bought a bunch. We started experimenting with it. We're like, this is amazing. Thanks, Kev. And
For
stuff
those who
like that.
don't know, that's
There's a
how like
moment.
the early comics got their look of the shading, where if you put one kind of chemical on, there'd be like this shading lines that go one way, and another kind of chemical shading lines would go the other way. And that's how you got depth in those early comics, was through duo shade. That's long gone. There's no such thing as duo shade anymore. But it's really interesting to hear. Like I think I've heard stories from like Jim Lawson and stuff about how like they had the last tubes of that chemical that changed it, and that was it. Like it's really interesting.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, I like a year or two ago, because
that was last
after
year.
a while we kind of lose shape. You use touch with these guys, right? Like I hadn't seen Kev since like 2001 when he was at a local convention here in Detroit, and I'm like, oh, so it was beautiful getting back in touch with these guys. And I said, Jim, I've got like 3 boxes of those chemicals yet and a bunch of duo shade, and we don't use them anymore. So I'm just going to send it to you and give it out to the guys who want to use it. And
That might have been what he was talking about. That's so funny.
So I did that, and yeah, it was just crazy. And so there are a lot of great moments where we're sharing our goals, what we want to accomplish, and how excited we are about how well our companies are doing, how well Turtles is doing. It was just we were just buddies. We're just friends having a good time and sharing in each other's success. It was a real blast.
tell me about the whoever wants to tell me about the Kickstarter. Why you guys decided to go and create these wonderful versions of the books now, and how well it went.
You want to take that, Sean? Because I mean,
I'll jump
the
in.
real mastermind behind it. So we had explored the possibilities, and in fact, in 2015, Nickelodeon had reached out to us and said, "Hey, everyone here loves your original game. Why don't we talk about you licensing it again?" And I'm like, "Gosh, we're really not in a position to do that right now." But I kind of kept it, I kept the door open to that. And then there was another thing that we explored at one point in around 2018 or 19, and that didn't quite pan out either. And then when Sean came on board, he loves the Turtles. Like you said, it's his very first game. And he's like, "Kev, I can do this. Let me do this. Let's talk to Paramount. And my old contacts were gone because they had been bought by Viacom. And I'm like, "Oh, shoot." And then we reached the right people who, again, were familiar with our stuff, liked our stuff, and we hammered out a contract. And Sean just nailed it, man. It was a passion project. And take it away, Sean.
Yeah, it is a passion project for me. I mean, so I say that Turtles is the first RPG I owned, but it was also like my passion as a kid, as many kids, my age, our generation are. I actually hit the cartoon and loved the cartoon. Then, as I got a little bit older, my dad's best friend, my uncle Mark, gave me the graphic novels. I was like, whoa, it's the Ninja Turtles, but really violent and people are dying, and this is great. And I wasn't a comic book kid, so to see that level of storytelling, but with my favorite characters, just kind of blew my mind. And so a friend of mine at school actually had the tabletop RPG book, and it was full of all that art you like, is as he said to me. So I traded him some science fiction tabletop role playing game stuff for it, and never looked back, and really enjoyed it. And so years later, and that got me into, by the way, playing all the other Palladium role playing games like Heroes Unlimited and Ninjas and Super Spies, and then Rifts and Macross 2, the role playing game. So when Kevin asked me to be his business partner in 2020, that was one of the very first things I wanted to talk about. And Kevin gave me the lowdown on, like he just did, some of the things that almost led to a reboot in 2015, 2016, and then closer to 2020. So when I joined him at Palladium, we kind of bid our time and lined things up so that we could reach out to Paramount and Paramount Nickelodeon and negotiate things. And that was a big deal. It only took 9 months, but I will say I really do like the people that we work with at Paramount, and so it's a huge property, right? It's a huge property, and you got to have these really great ironclad contracts. But once they were really on board with our vision, apparently Kev and Pete heard about us talking with Paramount through the grapevine, and both of them were just like, "Oh, we want to be involved," and that meant a lot to us. I got to meet Kevin Eastman for the first time via video call, and we had some of the early artwork that we were doing to show off to Paramount what the color work would look like in the new books. And so if you've seen the cover art, that's basically the level of color work that you see on the interior art. So we're really proud of that. We worked really hard on that. And when Kevin saw it, he said, "What did you say, Kevin?" He said it was when Kevin Eastman saw the color work, he said it was some of the best color work he'd ever seen on the Turtles.
Yeah.
So we were really, really flattered by that, and that really because we're doing something a little different. It's a little more painterly, like a lot of our other tabletop role playing games, especially the cover art, the covers that Palladium is well known for. So that some people were just nervous. Is this going to be the right approach for the early Ninja Turtle stuff? And I think it was. The other thing is our executive that we're working with. He also suggested that we do potentially a black, white, and red edition. So we ended up doing that as well, working with Jeremy Colwell, who is Freddie Williams's colorist. So we have the 2 core books in full color in a painterly full color style with the 4 color bandanas. But then we also have the exact same 2 books with all the art is instead done in black, white, and red. So page for page are the exact same books, but it has a totally different feel when you see it in black, white, and red. They're really awesome books.
Not to
But
interrupt you, but
yeah,
I can attest to this because I saw these books. I was, we met at Granite Con 2025,
right.
and you showed me these books, and I was looking through them, and the regular one is beautiful, and then man, there's something about that black, white, and red that just like popped for me. I love that. It's so cool.
Yeah, well, it's really got that grit from the original comics. It
Yeah.
really retains that feel. And like I think it was issue 1 or 2 had a 2-tone color, cover black and white and then red. And so it really harkens back to those original comics and the red bandana turtles. The art looks really different because you can still see all those duo shade lines and stuff like that. But with some added black and black, white, gray inking, and then the red colors, which it's really not just one red process color. It's also got yellow and orange. It just really pops. It's fantastic stuff. So that when we did the Kickstarter, we had those books on offer, and then we also have variant covers. We have a Sophie Campbell variant cover for the TMNT Transdimensional Adventures book. The core book, Kevin Eastman insisted on painting a cover, and I kind of freaked out when he was saying it because we already had commissioned the whole cover, and so we're in a video call with Kevin Eastman. He's insisting on painting a new cover, and Kevin was just like, "Shh, don't worry about it, Sean. It's okay." Because I started freaking out. We already have a cover,
Like you have to tell them no.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, that would have been the dumbest thing in the world. And it's a fantastic cover. These were Kickstarter exclusives, is how we got to do a lot of this stuff.
Cool.
Paramount, a lot of this was new to them. So we got to do some of the more exciting stuff as just Kickstarter exclusives, as crowdfunding exclusives. So the Sophie Campbell cover, the Kevin Eastman cover, the new cover, those were Kickstarter exclusives. We also have the 2 collector's edition covers, which are leatherette bound with we call them mutagen green. It has a green foil stamp cover, and so those were actually penciled by Kevin Eastman and then inked by Peter Laird, specifically for this project. And you can see it the second book in the behind the scenes section actually has photos of them holding up their artwork.
That's amazing because Peter doesn't do a lot now. Like he
doesn't do a lot, and so that meant a lot to us.
Yeah,
a lot to us, and
sure.
then a ton to a lot of hardcore fans because he hadn't done anything in a long time. It was probably the first time that they've worked together in a decade or 2 on a personal project like that, and so we were just gobsmacked to have both of them be as involved as they have been. Kevin Eastman also did some new art for Karai, and we added her stats to the book. She's from the early comics. And then Fugitoid, actually his rules weren't in the book. There was art of Fugitoid, but there wasn't any rules for Fugitoid. And so that's technically a separate IP, but we were able to negotiate with Nickelodeon and Paramount to get that added to the book as well as a stretch goal for the fans. And then we also have miniatures, all kinds of dice, a game master screen.
Oh wait, what miniatures? I didn't know about this.
Yeah, we have 2 miniature sets, one for the heroes and one for the villains, that we got sculpted, and they are Kickstarter exclusive. So unfortunately, they're not open to general retail. It's
okay.
I mean, we're telling people when we were running the campaign. I was trying to tell. I went on like, I don't know, it was 17 or more interviews, and I was just like, get it now, get it.
No, that's fair.
Be an
Absolutely,
collectible. Yeah. Because I'm not just trying to sell it. It's like it's in our contract that we can only do these as exclusives. There's no way that these are coming out later, right? It's just not. It can't happen. So
no, but good for them. Really, I mean, honestly, as much as I wish I didn't miss it, like that's for the people who found that early. Like, good for them. That's awesome. That's great.
Right. And so and we got some really great compliments from him. Jim Lawson said he thought it was the best Turtles minis he's seen sculpted. So but anyways, I don't want to belabor that too much because if someone
right, yeah,
and they don't already have it,
things you can't buy.
But we have some mutagen green dice, which
The
I
dice are cool.
designed.
I've seen those. You showed me those. In
Those
person.
are
Cool.
those are so cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Those
really
are way
fun to
cool.
roll. And then they're liquid filled with glitter. They
They
look
look
like
like they look
bubbling
like
mutagen.
dice with ooze in the middle. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And then we also have a Game Master screen, and that was one of the most popular items back in the day. People just, and I talked to fans. You know, Kevin and I talked to the fans. That's why we did this. This is the number one thing that people would ask me about. Even before I had joined Palladium, I was working on a licensed version of the Rifts role-playing game for the Savage Worlds RPG system.
Okay.
And people would ask me about the Ninja Turtles. And so I was like, there's like 3 degrees of separation, but you know, in the end, it was great because Kevin, I knew there was this would be really great demand for that, and we didn't want to just do a reprint of these books. We wanted to do not just color, but fantastic color. This is the first time Palladium Books has ever done full color hardcover books.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so we decided we wanted to just destroy it with really high production values. I worked really hard on the layout and the editing. All the game terminology has been updated. I went through every page, every paragraph, as did Paramount, to make sure that every image, every paragraph is in perfect lockstep with the Turtles lore. Because some of this stuff, there's little tweaks and changes that had to be made because it was written when there were only like just a few comic books out.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of places where we dialed in some stuff on Michelangelo and Leonardo's descriptions, for instance. But I mean, they all had that basic personalities. They just hadn't grown and been established as well yet. But yeah, no, it's been really fun to work on. We're really excited. The Black, White, and Red and the standard edition books are on their way from the printers. We have the mutagen green dice will be available. They come in a TCRI test tube.
Oh, right. That's so cool. I forgot about that. That's awesome.
And then the Game Master screen actually has a beautiful, it was originally done by Kevin Eastman as a wraparound cover for TMNT Adventures. But I went in and updated the art because it had to be cleaned up. A lot of the stuff that you see in the books has been cleaned up and from high res scans and printing plates and stuff that are, 4 decades old. So yeah, it's a really great Game Master screen, I think. With you can easily take the inserts in and out. We just try and make sure that this is the first time we're doing Game Master screens and first time ever doing dice for Palladium, I think, and then first time in a long time doing Game Master screens. So we just want to make sure everything is top-notch quality and just that people are getting the best thing they can get. And yeah, it's been really great. We did the Kickstarter did 1.2 million, and then we
which
had
is
over
way beyond.
8,000
What was the original
backers.
goal?
The original goal was, I believe, 250,000.
Jesus,
Or
that's
200,000.
remarkable.
And it was beyond what we had expected.
Yeah.
We'd done our research and we'd done our homework, but the Turtles is big again, and because of the length of the contract negotiations, which were important to get right, we actually launched the Kickstarter a little later than we expected. Well, Mutant Mayhem had just blown out the door. The movie had just come out. The comics it wasn't just, the last Ronin's a flash in the pan. This is a new generation of Turtles.
Oh yeah.
And so when we launched the crowdfunder, I think we hit the right nerve. I mean, it was so funny. There were some people that when they saw the new cover, at first they thought it was the original cover.
Oh, cool.
But the new cover is an homage
Right.
that
Yes,
Freddie Williams
Freddie's art
did of the
that
original
same
Kevin
look.
Eastman cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but when that happens, you're like, okay, I think we're getting it right. I think that we're bringing the fans what they asked for, right, and what they want, and it's what Kevin and I would want as a fan. And so we really enjoyed it. We added a lot of exciting things into the crowdfunder. So like I said, we ended up with 20 or 30 new mutant animals. We ended up with extra combat styles. There's a feral combat style for your animals that maybe grew up in the forest or the rural areas, as opposed to like the clean ninjutsu or other martial arts type combat styles. And there's twice as many vehicles, including stuff like hot air balloons and jet skis and skateboards, just all kinds of stuff that you would love to use in a Ninja Turtles type role playing game. So yeah.
So I understand that like some of the wording had to be updated, correct?
Correct.
But like, so like the thing like that I have like to me the thing that's so magnetic about this, at least as a non gamer, because I'm like,
Sure.
I haven't played this game. I don't know how to, but I'm super excited because I love the artwork and I know how important this book is to turtle history. So like, is all of the artwork that was in the original 6 books in these 2 books?
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So this here's
all
thing.
the original art, the original comics, it's all there. It's all there.
Fantastic.
Plus, like between the 2 books, like another 33 pages of tribute art by guys like Eric Talbot and Jim Lawson and
all the original
Freddie
Mirage
Williams
guys.
and Sophie Campbell and Sarah Naeli, and it's just we're huge fans of Turtles. We're huge fans of obviously role-playing game. That's our business. So we know what people want. We know what we would want. And we just pulled out all the stops because we want to make it something amazing. And we've had tons of people who are just shouldn't say but I mean, they're not gamers, they're Turtle fans. And they're like, I need to buy this book because
I saw that. I saw it when I was looking through the thing. I was like, okay, I need this thing. When I saw the red version or black, white, and red, I was like, okay, I need this specific version of this thing. So like I really dug it. And the dice were super cool, but man, I was like, I saw those black, white, red versions, I was like, and because you think like, oh, it's just like you think it's a variation, whatever. And I was like, no, this really pops. It's really cool. Like
it's a totally different feel. It's a totally different feel and style. And and the other cool thing is, we'd originally announced, I think it was 15 or 16 tribute pieces of art, pinup art. Yeah. And we ended up with I think 30 between the 2 books. So
that's great.
As much as we announced is actually in the end of both books, the first book we actually had to expand the page count from 256 to 272 pages. So again, I just want to throw it out there. Anyone who's listening to this, if you backed our project or anyone backed it, we really appreciate your support. It's a crazy time right now to get things produced and shipped worldwide, but we really appreciate your support, and we hope that you enjoy all the extra stuff that you got for the same price. So,
Kevin, I put this question on my list for early on, so forgive me. This is way out of order. Do the Dark Horse minis, which was like the next licensed product, factor into the history with the Palladium doll, or are those totally separate things, unrelated?
They're I want to say they're totally separate and unrelated.
I know we talked a little bit about them when we were at Granite Comet. I can't remember the little Dark Horse.
So what happened was, he was the guy who did it, a gentleman in Ohio. Sadly, I forget his name. Nice fellow, and he was familiar with the comics and our game. So at some point, he got the license from Mirage and did the Turtles and some related miniatures for them. And then he also did the Terror Bears and Dr. Farrell. And then he went and did some Robotech figures as well, because like a year later we did the Robotech role-playing game.
Okay.
And so there was a bit of a crossover, but we're 2 independent companies that just saw the magic of Ninja Turtles.
The early Magic Turtles. Cool. I think that settles it. The book is coming at the end of November. All 4 editions are coming, or all 4 books coming at the same time?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, the standard 2 books, and then the black, white, and red editions as well. Yep.
Where can we order? So this is going to drop early November, which means you got a couple weeks, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, to get these before they come out. Tell us where we can order the book, pre-order the book.
So palladiumbooks.com is a place where you can pre-order it directly from us. And that, I think, is going to be the easiest way to pre-order. But you can also talk to your friendly local game store if you'd rather do that as well. We are distributed by Alliance and some other large distributors. So
now, assuming that people listen to this too late, which shame on them, but like if they're listening in December and the book's already out, how do they find it then?
Palladiumbooks.com is still the best way to go.
Cool.
If if this sells as well as we expect, yeah, please do get in your orders as soon as you can. We might we want to avoid having any delays, where the book is out of print for a short amount of time.
Sure.
But yeah, so getting it straight from Palladium will be the fastest way to get it.
But it should be in certainly hobby game stores.
Will it be wide release? Can you get it? Will you
Yes.
find it at your local game store?
Absolutely, as well
there's
as
a lot of stores that are going to be that are already put in orders for it. Yep.
Awesome. That's fantastic. The last thing I wanted to ask you guys, because I asked this of everybody, is who's your favorite turtle? I'll start with Jeremy to ask him. Who's your favorite turtle, Jeremy?
Raphael.
Why is that?
Partially because I've always loved the sai as a weapon. I grew up taking martial arts, and that was always one of my favorites. He was also kind of the turtle that could always stand up for himself. Like, he never really put up with anything. And I was one of those weird, scrawny little midget kids, and I got bullied a lot. But Raphael was my hero because you could never bully Raphael, and he was just always so cool to me.
I love that. That's great. Sean, what about you? Favorite turtle?
It's going to have to be Leonardo. The two things I liked about him, I mean, yeah, he was the leader, but he could, he was the peacemaker with his brothers and get everybody organized when they needed to. And then I just love katanas. I think they're dope.
He's the best weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got two of them, right?
Yeah.
And my favorite color is blue. I just didn't really have a chance.
Sure. Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, I kind of love them all. I would say it's a toss-up for me between Leonardo and Raphael. In part because, I mean, they're just both really cool characters. And for Halloween, before the turtles went mega, my daughter dressed up as Leonardo for Halloween. She made this awesome shell out of paper mache, and it had the skull cap and two wooden swords we had gotten at the Renaissance Festival. And she was just amazing. She'd go up on this. Nobody knew who the damn turtles
I was saying,
were.
like, she must be one of the first people ever
Yes.
to be a Ninja Turtle for Halloween. That's cool.
And I felt so bad for her because she'd go up and of course people look at her and go, "What are you? Are you a space alien?" And she'd be like, "No." And she'd cross her swords and go, "I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Leonardo." And they're like, "Okay." 3 years later, every kid, half the kids anyways, were a frickin' turtle. But poor Monica, nobody knew what she was. And at some point we come down the stairs. She goes, "What's wrong with these people, Dad? How can they not know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?" And I'm like, well,
That's awesome. I love that. That's so good. My daughter was like an obscure Turtles character a couple of years ago, a Kitsune, who was a character from the comics, and also was in the same position of not knowing. Nobody knew who she was, but she wanted to be that character because it's a turtle character she loves. So I love that stuff. That's great. I am all set here, guys. Palladiumbooks.com. You can pre-order now. Coming late November. Let me tell you something. Just to lay this point home, as somebody who's not a gamer, just because it's just not, I've never been that big into them, but like these are really, really awesome. If you're a gamer, all the more reason to get them. But for me, like there's tons of cool art, exclusive like comic panels that are only here. Like there's lots of and a huge part of Turtle history. So I encourage anybody to get these books. They're really worth it. It's so cool. I'm all set. Thanks so much for your time, guys.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you.